Hi, okay, well, this is probably not the greatest angle to be doing a video from, so you'll have to excuse me. But I can chat whilst I'm driving. Charlie, thank you. Good boy. Okay, thinking about getting a puppy during COVID-19 lockdown. Here are some things you want to consider. So the normal process of getting a puppy is that you would be on a waiting list for a good breeder who is going to have a litter, and when they are ready to have a litter, they will let you know that they've got a litter coming, and you can get all excited, and hopefully they will have enough puppies that you will manage to get a puppy. When the puppies are 4 weeks old, you can start to visit, and it's the first time when the puppies will get some socialization from all the different visitors that are coming to see them. The breeder will also be doing socialization around things like the washing machine, the hoover, dusting, cutlery, all the things that are in and around the house. But obviously not outside. They're not going to take any risks of taking the puppies outside as such, unless they've got a completely hygienic area that they know no slugs or foxes are going to be entering. So then at week 8 you go, so you'll be visiting the puppy on a weekly basis, weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and at week 8 you will go and collect your puppy from the breeder. You then have the breeder will do your first vaccination for you at week 8, and at that point in time they will also microchip the puppy, and this is the law. So they're not doing you any favours, they're not proving they are they are not proving that they are a good breeder. They are just following the law by microchipping the puppy before it comes to you. Once it comes to you, the puppy has got the puppy has got a crucial development period up to about 12 weeks of age. This is a period when they still have got no fear reflex. The fear reflex normally kicks in at about week 12. This is the period of time when you would normally take on the responsibility as the new owner of doing all the socialization you can for the puppy. You normally get maybe 2 A4 pages worth of items listed that you need to socialize your puppy with in order for them to get to know the environment that they are going to be living in with you, what they're going to be encountering on a daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly basis with you, and have no reason to fear because they're things that they're going to be seeing on a regular or fairly regular basis. And while the puppy has got no fear reflex, they will approach things in a manner of curiosity, and it's really, really easy to socialize them during that period. I haven't had a cup of tea this morning. That's why I'm coughing a little bit. It's not COVID-19. So you've got that period between weeks 8 and 12 to socialize your puppy with everything that comes into your life on a regular basis. Now, given the fact that we are on lockdown at the moment, those things are going to be extremely limited. Anything that your puppy does not come into contact with during that period of time is going to be considered novel to them in the future. Anything that is novel to them in the future, they are going to show signs of fear of. You have to be very, very careful how you then approach those things that they consider fearful. You do not want to flood your puppy. You do not want to say, look, puppy, it's nothing to be scared of, and stick them in their face in it. You also do not want to lure them into something. Look, puppy, this is really nice because if you follow my fingers with the sausage in it, you will get the sausage when you're really close to the thing that you're scared of. No, the puppy will just focus on the sausage, and when it's eaten the sausage, it's going to find itself face to face with the thing it most fears in the area and freak out and be imprinted on. So you have to do it through space. You have to become aware, acutely aware of signs of fear in your puppy, in order to be able to identify that before they are experiencing it. When they show signs of fear, you need to figure out where the threshold was. If the item was here and they were showing fear here, then you want to step a little bit behind that fear threshold and get them used to the thing that they're going to be approaching, and then slowly decrease that distance. And that, when I say slowly, I don't mean in the first session. You may not get anywhere near that item they are scared of in that first session. It may take numerous visits to that thing over a period of time before they are no longer scared by it. So these are things you need to take into consideration. You are in lockdown at the moment, so you are unable to give the puppy the socialization that it requires in order to grow as a balanced dog. You also, so that is from weeks, when you have responsibility for that puppy between weeks 8 and 12. Now, as a one-to-one puppy trainer, I actually specialize in mentor sessions and training sessions that start from the day that the puppy arrives or the day after the puppy arrives at their new home, to make sure that you're taking off on the right foot, that you're not accidentally reinforcing behaviors that you don't want to reinforce. Biting humans, teaching bite inhibition is something that you can easily get wrong, and teach your dog to bite rather than not to bite. Jumping up is something you don't want to teach your puppy to do, and is very, very easily accidentally reinforced if you don't know what you're doing. Sorry, just arriving at a doggy's house. Toilet training is another one. If you get that wrong, you can teach your dog to be a dirty dog rather than a clean dog. Right, I'm going to put you on pause, come back when I've got this doggy. Right, I'm back again. Okay, so that was the early training if I was with you, working with you one-to-one, and things that you need to, if you haven't got a one-to-one trainer, these are things that you need to have researched and read up on before you get a puppy. These are things that if you leave it until you're at puppy classes, you've left it too late. You need to book an excellent book that I would recommend reading, which works a bit like a workbook, is Life Skills for Puppies by Helen Zolch. Love that book. Have done the course myself, and you don't, unless you're a trainer, or unless you've done lots and lots of research, you don't actually realize how much a puppy needs to learn in order to function in what is a densely populated human world. And Life Skills for Puppies teaches that when you're thinking you want to train your puppy, what you're probably thinking about is you want to be able to say something to your puppy for your puppy to understand and obey what you have asked of them. That in itself is one life skill. That life skill is the ability to be able to listen. There are 10 life skills in total of things that the puppy needs to learn in order to be able to grow up and be a nicely balanced dog. Do you know what? There's a lot of traffic on the roads today. Normally it is dead quiet when I'm driving around in the morning. Anyway, so yes, get that book, Life Skills for Puppy, Helen Zolch. But there are lots of other books. There are so many books out there based on puppy training. Just make sure that if you're going to do any reading up, if you read a book and it's talking about positive reinforcement, then you're on the right tracks. If it says anything like you have to be alpha or mentions the word dominance, then you are on the wrong track. This is outdated training methods that are based on putting fear into your dog and controlling your dog through fear. And anyone that loves their dog knows that you don't control a dog through fear. You control a dog, you have a respectful relationship with your dog through love. So, right, but let's get back to the practical stuff. At week 10, your puppy needs to go in and have its vaccination. It needs its vaccination at week 10 so that at week 12, it is fully vaccinated and can go out into the real world. It can be walked on a lead, along a path, on ground it's not been walked on before. It is safe to expose itself to some fox poo or some slug and snail trails, things that could potentially kill your puppy if it came into contact with before. And you need those at week 12. At week 12, you need to be able to get out there and to walk your puppy, to start doing proper stuff with it out in the real world. Right, hold on, I've got another dog to pick up. Right. Practical things. The ability to be able to give your puppy its 10-week vaccination. So some guys, quiet them down back there. So some vets are not open. Some vets are only partially open. Some vets are unable to do vaccinations at this precise moment in time. You do not want to hold back your puppy at all, because it will have a detrimental effect on it as it grows up. So you need to be able to make sure that your vet that you're registered with can do the vaccination at week 10. And that means being able to look into the future, because who knows what they're going to do with lockdown. We're all hoping that lockdown will be lifted, but what if they lift it? What if suddenly they lift it, it goes absolutely crazy, COVID swishes back at us, hits us in the face, and we have to go back into lockdown again, and the vets are not able to give vaccinations to dogs. So you have to just think practically about whether you're definitely going to be able to vaccinate your puppy at week 10. Given the fact that you are able to vaccinate your puppy at week 10, you can then start going out. And at this point in time, you want to be able to start training your puppy in a safe environment with off-lead recall. Hopefully by now you have worked on some attention training so he knows his name, some weight training so he has learned some patience and self-control, and some basic recall within the house and in the garden. Now you want to start doing some recall outside, proper off-lead recall. Now, a puppy under the age of about 6 months is not going to go far from you anyway, so you don't need to panic about it running off. Of course, if something terrifies it, it may well run. So make sure that you are in a safe environment where it's going to be nice and happy and comfortable in order to do some off-lead training. Now, if your puppy, because they are social little creatures and they haven't long been out of their litter where they've been able to play non-stop and quite intensely with barely any management with other little puppies, is going to want to go and say hello to pretty much every dog it sees. So you're in the middle of off-lead training, your puppy is off-lead and wandering by the side of your legs with no problem whatsoever, and sees another dog. Maybe it's a dog on lead. Now, if it's a distance away from you, even if it's sort of like, I don't know, 5 meters away from you, it's unlikely to cross that distance in order to say hello to that dog. It might do, but it's not likely to. However, a 2 meter social distancing that we have to comply to with the other people is a close enough distance for a puppy that is off lead to go and say hello to another dog. So, can you, or how are you, practically thinking again, going to get said puppy away from other dog without encroaching on that without reducing that 2 meter distance from that other person? Now, if that other person's dog's off lead, then it's probably fine. They can step back, you can go in, pick up puppy and take it away. But if their dog is on lead, and on lead because, I don't know, it's got bad recall, then they cannot let it off lead. They cannot back away from the 2 meter distance. They may not have the ability to be able to pick up their dog. And all of a sudden you have to go within 2 meters distance from somebody in order to get your puppy back. This is a problem that a lot of dog owners are having at the moment. Through lockdown, many dogs are having to remain on the lead, which is not fair for the dogs and is definitely no good for puppies that are born and being trained in the lockdown. Back in a moment, got another dog to pick up. Oh, doesn't like going on pause when I've got my gloves on. Okay. So, yes, just keeping social distance when you have a dog off lead can be a challenge. And yes, you could keep your puppy on lead. You could use a long training line and just drop that to the floor. It gives the puppy the sense of a freedom without actually being free, enabling you to put your foot on the end of the training line and to reel the puppy back in again if required. So there are workarounds around that one. It isn't black and white. However, proper training classes are training classes. I'm sure that there are trainers out there that are finding workarounds and doing webinar training and everything. But unless that's on a one-to-one basis, it is just watching recordings that are possibly interactive, and they won't be able to watch you and assess how you are doing and correct you if you are doing something wrong. If it was me, I would normally be doing a one-to-one training session in the owner's home. And I normally do that weeks 8, 9, 10 and 11, and then the puppy normally comes into my play school from that point in time. And over that training period, I will cover things like isolation training, which we need to actually talk about as well, alone time training, toilet training, house training, feeding, no biting, bite inhibition, no jumping up, how to meet and greet, as well as attention, their name, wait, teaching patience and self-control, or patience. Stay is more self-control. So I normally, so there's the behavioural side of things that I do to ensure that the behaviours the right behaviours are being encouraged and the wrong behaviours are not being encouraged. And then there's the actual listening side of things. So attention is their name, wait for patience, sit as just being a polite position to sit in, an easy position to sit in and request, stay, which teaches self-control, and recall. Walking on lead is, in my eyes, a behavioural thing, not a training thing. If you get it wrong, you can teach your dog to pull. If you get it right, your dog won't pull. So it's less of actually training your dog to actually do something when requested. So yeah, those are kind of the basics. So it needs to know its name. It needs to know to come when it's called. It needs to be able to wait in order to learn some patience. It needs to be able to stay in order to learn some self-control. And those to me are the four most important, most crucial parts of training. There's lots more that you can train your dog. Your dog will learn so many words whilst it's growing up, and you can train far more than that. It also needs to learn how to be handled. Basically, I'm not going to run through everything that it needs to be taught, but basically, if you're doing one-to-one training with me, I only take it up to week 12, and then it comes into puppy play school, and then I focus on teaching or mentoring or supervising the learning of social behaviours using mentor dogs. And I normally then say register when you first get your puppy to join a puppy training course in your area. There's a couple that I would recommend, and that would start at week 12, and they get booked up very fast, so you need to book that well in advance. As soon as you get your puppy, or as soon as you know you're going to get your puppy, you need to get registered with a training class. And so they would normally start when the puppy is 12 weeks old. Or I shouldn't say they normally start, they do start. They start when the puppy is 12 weeks old, and they normally run a 6-week class. Your puppy has to be 12 weeks old in order to join that class. If it's any older than that, then it will not fit into that class. And then they don't really they do an adolescent class, but then you want to teach your puppy before it gets to adolescence. Anyway, my thoughts on the subject is that whatever course you use, you need to get that training in and done by the age of 6 months old. You want your puppy fully trained. The reason why you want your puppy fully trained by 6 months old is because they go through another critical growth spurt at 6 months old. It's the confidence growth spurt. And your little puppy that has barely left your side and been so good at recall and has done everything that you've asked it to do, suddenly at the age of 6 months goes, well, hold on a second, I can see further than 2 meters in front of me, and I want to go over there. And we'll start going over there. And you are going to lose control completely of your puppy unless you already have training in place. So you want your puppy fully trained by the age of 6 months old, so that when it hits 6 months old and it starts doing things it's never done before, you've got the controls in place to be able to reel that puppy back in again. The next growth spurt is at about anywhere between 6 and 9 months old, really, is when the body stops growing in height and length, or the bones tend to, growth plates tend to fuse at about that age. The body stops focusing on size and decides that the dog is now optimal size to start bearing another generation, and goes into puberty. So then you have the whole puberty side of things to deal with. If your dog is being cared for in a social environment like a daycare or a group dog walking, then it is most likely that puberty, you will, unless you're having your dog neutered, it is unlikely to actually be able to continue in those social groups, generally speaking, because they don't tend to get on, or they tend to lose friendships with their besties that they have created in those groups, because they just get a little bit more bossy and play. They can't help it. They have all this testosterone going around in their body, and they really don't know. Hold on. they really don't know what to do with it. And anyway, relationships become a bit tried, and so in most cases it's best to neuter them if you want to continue in a social environment. If you're not reliant on a social care system, then it's up to you. You probably can go longer without neutering if you wanted to, but you may not want to, because you may not want the hassles that come with an unneutered animal. Next dog here. Right, back with you again. Calm down, settling in the new not new doggy, but new doggy in the van. So yes, that's puberty. That's the months somewhere between 6 and 9, most likely your dog will hit puberty. After that, then we're looking at around about 12 to 18 months. Your dog goes into sort of like a teenager. Yeah, if you've had teenage children or know of teenage children, you will know this is the point when they think they're independent and they can start doing things that they want to do. Not quite in the same way as the confidence way, more in a lazy, I've forgotten what you've taught me, I really can't be bothered to do what you're asking me to do. No, I'm going to throw a tantrum and not do that. Kind of teenagery stage. So yeah, that's the teenager stage. About 2 years old, your dog's going to think it's an adult, very much like a 20-year-old thinks that they're an adult before they hit 40 and realise what an adult really is. And then at the age of about 4 years, that is when your dog's going to hit sort of like the equivalent of the human 40s. You're going to have an adult dog at that point in time, who is basically in the shape, form, behaviour, character that is going to remain with you until he starts to become a senior at about age 7, and then depending on, then he might need some supplements for his bones, or for his coat, or for his eyesight and teeth, and then depending on the size of your dog may, life expectancy may be something like 7 or 8, 9 years for a Great Dane or one of the giant breeds, to maybe 15 years for something like a Yorkshire Terrier or one of the miniature small breeds. That's way ahead, obviously. But obviously you want a dog that's got as strong an immune system, as healthy as possible. Personally, and I'm not alone here, I would recommend a raw or at least a real food diet. The processed diets that are on the shelves in the pet shops are basically cardboard with a bit of nutrients sprayed on top of them. They are awful. They create so many health issues in dogs. They probably are responsible for supplying vets with about 70% of their business. If you want to raise your dog healthily, raise him, feed him properly. Don't feed him the crap that's in the bags and in the cans that are on the pet shop shelves. It's like raising a child on microwave meals and McDonald's. Awful. So the one other subject we didn't talk about was training, isolation, confidence on being on your own, being on their own. So you have to do this, and you start with, as part of training, you start it as soon as you get the puppy, and you start with maybe 5 minutes, and then you go up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Puppy-wise, I really wouldn't leave it longer than an hour, but you need to do this time when they are on their own. And that's going to be challenging as well when you're in lockdown, because it's difficult getting space from our own family, let alone space from a new puppy in the house. Anyway, I'm back at Camp K9 now, so I have to get these dogs unloaded and start my day. So I hope that's helpful. It seemed easier to record this than to type up something that could be read, but there you go. I will leave that with you, and any questions, just ask. Bye.